The phone rang just before the clock struck 12. Nasir Cole found himself solitary in the corner office of a towering 42-story building, the glass walls encapsulating a moody, rain-soaked Seattle skyline. The city sparkled below, vibrant and throbbing, yet forever out of reach. The surface of his desk remained pristine, unblemished by any clutter. The tailored jacket draped elegantly over the chair. A crystal tumbler of whiskey lingered, untouched, at the edge of the window. He found the flavor unappealing. It was merely an object to grasp. Fireworks erupted early over Elliott Bay, their vibrant hues softened by the rain-smeared glass. He hardly paid attention. The light from his screen flickered in the dim room, a cascade of emails accumulating even during the holiday, but none seemed deserving of his attention. The sole sound in the room was the gentle hum of the HVAC system, punctuated by the sporadic crackle of rain against the windowpane. Nasir brushed his fingers along his jawline, gazing intently at his reflection. At 41, thriving with remarkable success and utterly free. The sort of individual that makes headlines, yet remains a mystery to most. Not any longer. Not since the initial public offering. Not since the quiet has come to seem more comforting than dialogue. The device vibrated in his pocket. Not his mobile, the landline. The one that remained untouched. He turned, bewildered, observing it resonate as if it were out of place. His assistant had departed long before. This number appeared in just 3 locations. He extended his hand cautiously, as though responding to it could sear his skin. Nasir Cole, he stated, his voice steady. A moment of stillness. Greetings, Mr. Cole. You are speaking with St. Elias Hospital. His heart remained steady. It hesitated. The tone was serene, bordering on unnaturally tranquil. A woman, perhaps in her 40s, poised yet weary, exuding an air of professionalism. We are reaching out to you as you are designated as an emergency contact for Alina Reyes. The name struck him like a receding wave, tugging at his insides. Alina. It had been years since he had uttered her name. He had not allowed it. She passed earlier this evening, the woman continued, during the process of bringing new life into the world. The words fell gently, yet they created a profound impact. He clutched the edge of the desk tightly. Excuse me. Complications arose. I sincerely apologize, Mr. Cole. She had no other next of kin recorded, and you were identified as the father. The atmosphere in the room grew sparse around the child. I believe there has been an error, he succeeded. There is not. A baby boy entered the world at 9:44 p.m. He is in a stable condition. However, we require your presence this evening. There are documents that require signatures. A choice needs to be determined. There was no response from him. Mr. Cole. He parted his lips, yet silence enveloped him. I realize this may come as a surprise. Enter through the Broadway entrance, head to the maternity floor, and find room 608. A person will be there to meet you. The connection went silent. Nasir gazed intently at the receiver he held in his hand. The heaviness of it, the silence enveloping the space. His reflection in the window flickered subtly, as if the glass itself struggled to accept the truth it had witnessed. He softly uttered her name just once. Alina. It shattered something within the room, or perhaps within him. A memory surged forth, her laughter resonating in a studio apartment brimming with canvases and vintage lamps. She donned jeans splattered with paint and adamantly rejected the use of coasters. She would often insist, I'm not damaging your furniture. I'm infusing it with personality. It had been more than 2 years since he last laid eyes on her. He was unaware. And now a little one had arrived. His little one. Nasir set the phone down with intention, strolled over to the closet, and slipped on his coat. There are no calls. No texts. No communication to the board. Only the abrupt, undeniable urge to shift. Outside, The elevator seemed to descend at a languid pace, resonating with the rhythm of a structure founded on urgency and financial aspirations. He remained still, observing the numbers on the floor drop one by one. He entered the lobby, ventured out into the rain unprotected, and remained oblivious to the chill in the air. Seattle flowed around him in its familiar cadence, quiet Teslas gliding by, an occasional bike courier darting through, and the soft glow of street lamps softened by the persistent drizzle. Yet, everything seemed transformed, as if he were traversing a city constructed from recollections. Alina had vanished. A child stood in anticipation. The words reverberated once more in his mind. She referred to you as the father. He navigated into the hospital parking structure, the route slipping from his mind. The structure stood in a state of twilight, bathed in a soft glow of fluorescent blues and greens, caught between wakefulness and slumber. The maternity ward was serene and immaculate. It felt eerily silent in a space that should have been filled with the sounds of beginnings. He approached the reception desk, speaking in a hushed tone. I was instructed to go to room 608. The nurse failed to inquire about his identity. She merely inclined her head. This way, please. The corridor extended far beyond its intended length. Every footfall whispered gently on the polished surface. He remained silent. The nurse also did not. The stillness enveloped them, thick and heavy, much like a dense mist. Upon arriving at the door, she hesitated. He's in good health, she remarked softly, and robust. That is significant. He nodded, yet everything seemed surreal. The nurse swung the door open and then departed, leaving him behind. The room was shrouded in shadows, illuminated solely by a lamp positioned beside the corner bassinet. Within, he observed a crib provided by the hospital, made of clear plastic, adorned with a swaddled blanket, and a hint of dark hair just peeking over the rim. Silence prevails. Simply inhaling and exhaling. He moved in closer. If this video resonated with you, drop a comment with a 1 to share your thoughts. If that's the case, please provide a comment too. Your opinions are important to me, no matter what. The infant's visage was delicate and serene, with closed eyes and a chest gently rising and falling in a calm, rhythmic pattern. Nasir gazed in silence, words escaping him. A folded envelope rested beside the crib, his name inscribed on the front, in her delicate handwriting. He lifted it, with deliberate slowness. I have opened it. If you find yourself here, it means I'm not in the place I had hoped to be. Yet he is. Lucas is not a mistake, Nasir. I made my choice about him. By myself, if necessary. Yet, if you find yourself here, perhaps my judgment of you wasn't misplaced. He doesn't require perfection. He requires authenticity. Simply make your presence known. His fingers clenched the paper tightly before letting it go. The infant shifted slightly. A gentle, satisfied sound. Nasir settled himself next to the crib. No elaborate proclamations. No unexpected tears. Merely a man, burdened by the heaviness of a life he never realized he was anticipating. He extended his hand. Gradually. Just one finger. Lucas shifted, just a fraction. Then his small hand grasped it tightly. And Nasir Cole, a millionaire and CEO, a master of the untouchable, simply sat there, paralyzed. For he had never experienced anything in his life that clung to him quite like that. The rain continued to fall relentlessly. When Nasir finally emerged from the hospital, the clock had already struck 2 a.m. He chose not to return home. He couldn't even recall where he had parked. After years of obligations, he found himself with no place he had to go. There was a place he needed to return to. Returning indoors. Returning to the boy. He strolled 2 blocks to his car, the letter lingering in his pocket. Alina's voice resonating above the clamor of the city. He doesn't require perfection. He requires authenticity. It seemed to embody a duality of struggle and farewell. He lingered behind the wheel, the engine silent, the headlights dimmed. The dashboard clock flashed 217. He contemplated starting the car. Journeying to a destination. Everywhere. Instead, he reclined his head against the seat and gazed up at the ceiling. Just 3 hours prior, he was completely unaware of Lucas's existence. At this moment, the thought of turning his back seemed utterly unimaginable. A gentle tap caught him off guard. He cast a glance over. The nurse who had escorted him in earlier lingered by the driver's side window, her jacket drenched, clipboard tucked under one arm. He let it roll down. "Mr. Cole," she spoke softly. "It's essential that we complete the temporary guardianship paperwork before the morning arrives. I can guide you through it." Nasir's eyes fluttered momentarily. May I have the chance to see him again first?" Her gaze became gentle. "Absolutely." In the NICU, Lucas rested peacefully, the gentle beeping of machines and the soft hum of warmth enveloping the small crib like a protective cocoon. Nasir lingered in that moment, his fear diminished, yet uncertainty crept in. A different nurse entered, her hands steady and seasoned with experience. She carefully smoothed a blanket around Lucas's feet. "Are you his father?" she inquired, her tone gentle. After a moment of uncertainty, he gave a slight nod. She offered a subtle smile. Indeed, she has inherited his gaze. Nasir cast his gaze upon her. "Did you know Alina?" "It has been just the last few weeks," the nurse responded. "Visited for a couple of checkups. Perpetually solitary, consistently prompt, perpetually inquiring." She hesitated, gently arranging the blanket once more. She felt a sense of concern, yet remained unafraid. He released a slow breath. She kept it to herself. "She mentioned that she was allowing you some distance," the nurse remarked, "and perhaps one day you would seek her out." It seemed she had the right idea after all. He remained silent. "Feel free to linger," she added. "He's staying put." Nasir gave a slight nod. Once he completed the paperwork in the serene hospital lounge, a small envelope was presented to him. Inside, he found a temporary hospital ID tag, a printout detailing care instructions, and a folded note from Alina, one that was unfamiliar to him. This one was marked a month prior. It bore only his name, once more in her curvy script. He left it unopened. Not at this moment. When he finally made his way back home, the sky had begun to take on a gray hue. The early morning light struggled to break through the dense clouds. Seattle appeared to be in a state of slumber at dawn, as if it were still contemplating whether to embrace the day ahead. Nasir stepped into his penthouse, pausing in the doorway as water cascaded from him onto the slate tile below. It felt excessively pristine, unnaturally silent, and uncomfortably chilly. The dwelling he had crafted to symbolize his dominance now left him feeling like an outsider in his own existence. The illumination was self-regulating, the surfaces pristine. The sound of his shoes clicking seemed foreign, as if he were an intruder in the reverberation around him. He glided quietly down the hallway, pausing at the door of the guest room. He opened the door and paused, gazing intently. Storage bins, sealed boxes, an unused crib tucked away in the corner. Devoid of warmth, absent of any sign of life. It was never intended to serve as a nursery, merely a space for potential to unfold. He perched on the edge of the bed, retrieving the second note with a deliberate motion. "I aim to avoid putting you in a position where you'd feel compelled to choose out of pressure or guilt. That was never our way of doing things, was it? Space was always a necessity for you. I have always sought connection. And we both became skilled at feigning that it sufficed. Yet, I understood, beneath the surface, that if anything had the power to reach you, it would be him." A moment of stillness. "He's quite talented, Nasir. I can sense it. There's no requirement for you to be prepared. Simply speak the truth." The note quivered in his grasp as he placed it down. He remained composed. Yet, a fracture emerged, and silence enveloped the space. A stillness within him that transformed. Not a pause, but a moment to inhale. Suddenly, the intercom buzzed. He was taken aback. "A visitor has arrived for you, Mr. Cole. She claims to hail from St. Elias." Confused. He approached the panel and pressed the button to respond. "It's Teresa Franklin," a convoy remarked. "The nurse attending to Alina. Nick, you." She requested that I deliver something before her time came to an end. He swung the door open. In her late 50s, she donned a long navy raincoat, a small canvas tote in one hand and a bundled blanket tucked under her arm. Her expression was serene, weary, yet grounded. A tranquility that is utterly genuine. The type that emerges from experiencing countless forms of sorrow yet continues to rise each new day. "I wasn't sure where else to leave this," she remarked. "Alina requested that I deliver this to you personally. I never expected it to happen this quickly." Nasir moved aside, silent. She stepped inside, peeling off her coat with deliberate slowness, her gaze sweeping across the room. "All of this is spotless. It hasn't been occupied very much, however." He came close to offering an apology, but ultimately refrained. She presented him with the bundle. It was gentle, muted, a lavender scarf. He stood still. "She donned that in the hospital, enveloping Lucas the moment she cradled him," Teresa recounted, refusing to allow the nurses to remove it from him. He grasped it for a lingering instant, then brought it to his face. Lemongrass. The aroma struck with the force of an unfinished recollection. "She mentioned it was her grandmother's," Teresa added softly, and she hoped it would be the first memory he held on to. Nasir gulped. "He's with the nurses at the moment," she mentioned, "but they won't hold on to him for too long. Answers will be required. I can assist for a time, but he requires a home, not a facility." "Why are you doing this?" he asked, his voice gravelly. Teresa regarded him with a lingering gaze, neither harsh nor condescending, for Alina held a firm belief in the power of second chances, even when they seemed illogical. He gave a slight nod. "Tomorrow," she spoke softly, "we will bring him here. Begin whenever you're ready, not aiming for perfection, just authenticity." He remained still as she began to walk away, yet just before she reached the threshold, she glanced back. Additionally, she suggested, it could be beneficial to transform the guest room into a space that truly invites exploration. After that, she departed. Nasir lingered in the hallway, clutching the scarf tightly. Beyond the window, the city came alive, buses buzzing, lights flickering to life, a vibrant pulse propelling existence onward. Within, the silence had transformed into something profound. It lingered in anticipation. The rain had transformed into a gentle mist by the time Nasir found himself at the edge of the nursery. No, not a place for young children. Not at this moment. The air lingered with a subtle hint of cardboard and paint primer. One wall displayed the faint impression of a shelf he never got around to installing. A partially constructed crib lay in the corner, its flat-packed components scattered around. The instruction manual lay open to step 7, a silent reproach lingering in the air. A pile of boxes rested against the distant wall, marked with seasonal decor, in bold black ink, echoes of a life that never anticipated the arrival of a child. He stepped over the threshold and let out a slow breath, scarf still clutched in his hand. The lavender wool felt gentle to the touch, its edges worn and frayed, carrying the essence of countless memories he had not experienced yet could deeply sense. He set it down softly on the windowsill. The soft morning light seeped in, draping the room in a delicate shade of purple. It resonated like a pulse. He pivoted at the gentle sound of the elevator's chime. Teresa was back. This time, she arrived with company. Nasir's gaze fixated on the infant carrier slung over her shoulder, and for a brief instant, a wave of panic washed over him. The heaviness of it, the delicacy, the inevitability. Yet Teresa left him no space to back away. "Say hello," she murmured gently, lifting Lucas from the carrier and seamlessly placing him into Nasir's arms. He tensed up. Ease the tension in your shoulders. You don't have a briefcase in hand. He made a change. Hardly. Lucas awakened from his slumber. No tears, merely a gradual, crinkled blink. The infant's head nestled against his chest, finding its place. Nasir's breath hitched. I'm not prepared, he murmured. Indeed, that seems to be the case. Lucas released a subtle sigh, as if he held a differing opinion. With a warm smile, Teresa glided into the kitchen as if it were her home for ages. He took a swig from a bottle during the drive over. I will create a few additional ones. Nasir trailed behind her, uncomfortably adjusting the baby's weight in his arms. You promised you would assist. Yet, for what duration? For as long as it takes, she responded, already washing the bottles. Until you cease questioning your own worth. He parted his lips, then sealed them once more. She regarded him with an arched brow. It would be a good idea to reach out to Jenna. He blinked, momentarily taken aback. What is the reason behind this? Since she is your cousin. She will pose the challenging inquiries. For she will evoke the essence of emotion within you. There was no reply from him. Just observed her deftly twist open the formula container with a single hand. A knock echoed through the stillness of the room. Nasir stood still once more. Teresa lifted her gaze. I refrained from calling anyone. The knock echoed once more, 3 courteous taps resonating through the silence. He moved through the living room with deliberate slowness, Lucas cradled securely in his embrace. As he swung the door open, a woman appeared, her umbrella cradled under her arm, the hem of her long coat still glistening with raindrops. She possessed an undeniable aura that commanded attention without seeking approval. Defined features, dark hair casually gathered in a loose bun, eyes that boldly pierced through to your very soul. You're Nasir Cole, she stated, her tone firm and certain. He nodded, a look of bewilderment crossing his face. I'm Pamela Sloan, Alina's attorney, she stated. His stomach plummeted. She entered without hesitation. I didn't arrive for any theatrics. I arrived for Lucas. Teresa emerged from behind him, her hands still drying. Were you even aware of his existence? Pamela inquired with a flat tone. Nasir's jaw tightened. Only after the night she passed away. And now you cradle him as if you've truly deserved it. I embrace him because he belongs to me. A prolonged pause enveloped the atmosphere. Pamela observed him intently before shifting her gaze to Teresa. What's the duration of your stay here? From the very first light of day. Pamela placed her bag on the counter and retrieved a folder. 2 weeks ago, Alina submitted the necessary papers for provisional guardianship. She was thinking about using me as a backup in case you didn't reply. She never afforded me an opportunity, Nasir murmured softly. She dedicated years to you, Pamela retorted. Lucas shifted in his embrace. Teresa advanced with purpose. He was unfamiliar with Pam. Pamela pivoted, her gaze piercing. And who is to blame for that? Nasir's voice pierced the air, softer than hers, yet laced with an undeniable strength. I let her down, I realize that. However, I refuse to turn my back at this moment. Pamela gazed at him intently, her eyes lingering on his face. At last, her voice took on a gentle quality that felt authentic. She mentioned that you would arrive. He blinked slowly, as if processing the moment. She mentioned to me once, Pamela went on, that if the call arrived, you'd be paralyzed. Yet, you would remain. That's the distinction, she remarked. You're not exactly quick on your feet, Nasir. However, when you take that step, you truly mean it. Lucas emitted a delicate sneeze into the fabric of his collar. Teresa beamed. That is his endorsement. Pamela released a breath and gave a slight nod. The documentation is adaptable for the time being, but I will require a signature shortly. In that case, I will proceed to sign. She arched an eyebrow. It would be wise to read it first. I will, but I refuse to let him go. Pamela gave a slight nod, first to herself and then to him. She approached the door, then hesitated, her gaze lingering on the scarf draped over the window. She mentioned that while in my office, her voice barely above a whisper. Engaged in a lengthy discussion for 40 minutes regarding the inclusion of your name on the forms. Nasir gazed at her. She had faith in you, Pamela remarked. Even in moments when you didn't. After that, she departed. Quiet enveloped the space once more. Lucas let out a long, drawn-out yawn. Nasir glanced at Teresa. Did everyone support her? No, Teresa replied with a sardonic grin. She had an uncanny ability to choose the right individuals for her circle. He cast his gaze upon the infant once more. His middle name is Reyes, Teresa remarked, as she dried a bottle. She wished for him to understand his origins. Nasir gave a slight nod. Then provide him with a purpose for his journey, she remarked, passing him the bottle. Commencing immediately. He accepted it. Lucas awoke, his eyes fluttering open, and effortlessly grasped the bottle. Nasir perched on the edge of the couch, a bottle in one hand, while his other arm cradled Lucas's petite form. The city beyond continued its relentless pace, yet within him, a subtle transformation had taken place, quiet but unmistakable. The nursery lay in serene silence, punctuated only by the soothing hum of a humidifier nestled in the corner and the gentle, rhythmic breaths of Lucas in the bassinet. The morning light seeped through the linen shades, casting a soft, golden hue across the walls. For the first time in years, Nasir allowed sunlight to stream into this corner of the house. He settled onto the floor, his back leaning against the wall, legs folded, gaze fixed on his son. After 2 hours of feeding, burping, and what seemed like a tense negotiation over the ideal swaddling technique, the baby had finally drifted off to sleep. Nasir had viewed 5 instructional videos. Teresa had pointed out his mistakes on 2 occasions. Ultimately, it was Lucas, fidgeting, restless, then settling into silence against his chest, who imparted the lesson on how to cradle a child. Unlike a glass sculpture. As if it possesses life. He shut his eyes. This space. This dwelling. It was not prepared for a child. Everything seemed intense, devoid of vitality, meticulously arranged. Assistance was essential for him. Genuine assistance. He rose quietly, mindful of Lucas's slumber, and made his way into the hallway. Teresa stood in the kitchen, her hands immersed in soapy water, a gentle hum escaping her lips as she worked. He rested against the doorway. I reached out to Jenna. Teresa pivoted, her eyebrows arching in surprise. What an unexpected turn of events. She remained silent. She is a creator. She likely has little faith in alarms. He exhaled softly. Barely a chuckle. He mentioned that he left a message. I expressed to her that I required her presence. I shared the story of Lucas with her. Teresa dried her hands on a towel. That's an excellent beginning. I'm uncertain whether she'll arrive. She certainly will. You employ the single term that never fails to elicit a reaction from her. What is that? Require. Later that afternoon, Nasir returned to the living room, cradling Lucas softly against his shoulder. The young lad started to awaken once more, a soft, uneasy noise forming deep within him. He attempted to calm him when the intercom crackled to life. He pressed the button, his heart quickening slightly. A recognizable voice emerged, a blend of fatigue and irony. Therefore. Did I hear that right? Do you have a little one? Similar to a human version? In your current living space? He pressed the door release, remaining silent. A few moments later, Jenna burst in, clad in a paint-splattered denim jacket, her hair styled in a chaotic twist, and a tote bag casually draped over one shoulder. If this video resonated with you, drop a comment with a 1 to share your thoughts. If that's the case, please provide a comment too. Your opinions are important to me, regardless of the circumstances. She cast a glance at Nasir, his shirt crumpled, a sock absent, a burp cloth draped over his shoulder, and smiled widely. "Oh my goodness," she murmured, her eyes growing wide. "You've been laid bare." He blinked slowly, as if processing the moment. "What is happening? You appear genuine." "I feel as solid and unyielding as drywall." She approached, her eyes falling to the infant now slowly blinking in his embrace. Could that be him? Lucas. Jenna's expression transformed, becoming unexpectedly gentle. She extended her hand with deliberate slowness. "Could I?" With a moment of uncertainty, Nasir finally relinquished Lucas. Jenna held him close, her movements gentle and practiced, swaying softly on her heels. She remarked that he possesses Alina's lips. Nasir gave a slight nod. "It seems like that's what everyone is saying." "Indeed, it is a fact." They lingered in quietude for a moment. Then Jenna cast her gaze upon him. "Why didn't you mention her to me?" "I kept it to myself." "Did you truly care for her?" His voice faltered in his throat. "Absolutely." "Was she aware?" "I'm uncertain." Jenna averted her gaze. "She attended one of my performances once, claiming it was her covert objective to gain a deeper understanding of you. She mentioned that if she could experience what you perceive in my art, perhaps she could connect with you." Nasir's breathing became more measured. "I was unaware of that. Jenna mentioned that she purchased one of my pieces. She left her name off, merely inscribing what might have been on the reverse side of the check." He gulped. "Difficult." Lucas awakened from his slumber. Jenna swayed him softly. Jenna remarked that she didn't do that out of surrender. She acted on the conviction that you would return. Perhaps now you have. He nodded slowly, the burden of it all pressing down on him once more. "I must transform this space," he declared. Jenna surveyed her surroundings. "No offense intended, but it does have the vibe of a stock photo. I desire for Lucas to flourish in a vibrant, warm environment." "I can help," she said confidently. "Allow me to transform the nursery, and the entire apartment, if you give me the chance." Nasir's eyes fluttered open. "Would you really consider that?" "Nasir," she said with a warm smile, "we're family." "Absolutely, I would be happy to do that." "You really have no clue about selecting a crib." He released a drawn-out, unsteady chuckle. "I truly do not." "Excellent," she remarked. "Let's begin from that point." That evening, as the rain fell softly in gentle sheets against the glass, Jenna and Teresa gathered at the kitchen table, surrounded by swatches of fabric and mood boards laid out before them. Lucas rested close by, nestled against Nasir's chest in a wrap that Jenna had insisted he wear. "You resemble a father from one of those lifestyle blogs," she playfully remarked. "I feel like someone who's been dealt a rough hand in a game of chance." Teresa gracefully poured the tea. "You appear to be someone who has finally opened up to another person." Jenna arched an eyebrow. "Or perhaps a couple of individuals." Nasir gazed at her. She said softly, "You mentioned your love for Alina. However, that doesn't imply your narrative concludes with her." "I'm not prepared for." "I didn't say romance," Jenna interrupted, her voice gentle. "I mentioned a narrative. Life is brimming with fresh beginnings, even when you believe the story has reached its end." He remained silent. Yet, he also refrained from expressing any dissent. Once the last person had departed, Nasir found himself solitary in the nursery, now devoid of boxes, with the windows ajar to welcome the soothing cadence of the rain. In the bassinet, Lucas lay peacefully, undisturbed and serene. Nasir picked up the lavender scarf and delicately draped it over the edge of the crib. It wasn't his, yet it had a rightful place here. He withdrew slightly. The room was starting to take on a certain essence, not flawless, but undeniably authentic. The nursery was filled with the soothing scent of lavender and the crisp aroma of fresh paint. In just a week, Jenna had completely transformed it. Gentle moss green walls embraced the space, adorned with a hand-painted mural depicting trees and stars, while shelves hold an array of simple wooden toys. It wasn't extravagant, it wasn't boisterous, but it seemed to have always been a part of a child's world. Nasir lingered in the doorway, Lucas nestled against his shoulder, the gentle warmth of his tiny breath brushing against Nasir's neck. Something within him had begun to find its balance, a gentle yet persistent cadence. For the first time, this place seemed to transform from a penthouse into something that signified a new start. Yet tranquility, he was discovering, never remained untouched. The phone vibrated with a sudden buzz. Pamela. He allowed it to go to voicemail, yet moments later, a text message came through. Reach out to me. There's been a shift. The matter at hand pertains to custody. His stomach twisted in knots. He cast his gaze downward at Lucas. The young lad shifted gently, his hand instinctively curling close to his cheek. Nasir brought him into the nursery, placed him softly in the crib, and remained there until his breathing became steady. He then made his way into the hallway and turned to call back. Pamela picked up on the first ring. Nasir. Thanks a lot. What's happening? A moment of stillness. I met with Alina's previous landlord. She secured an additional unit further down the corridor. It seems to be solely for storage purposes. He remained silent. They discovered a box, Pamela continued. Records, diaries, correspondence. Some were directed your way. Most were messages she penned for Lucas. His throat constricted. Where is it currently located? My workspace. I can deliver them this evening if you're available at home. I will remain present. She hesitated once more. There's an additional element to consider. It is essential to peruse one of the letters. What does it express? I believe it's best for you to experience it firsthand. The connection went silent. Nasir remained motionless, his phone clutched tightly in his hand. Even in death, Alina still had unfinished business with him. That evening, after Teresa had fed Lucas and Jenna had stepped out to gather paint samples, the doorbell chimed. Pamela stood there with a small box, her arms crossed, exuding a sense of calm composure rather than defensiveness. Within the confines of the box lay a collection of manila envelopes, each adorned with Alina's distinctive, flowing script. Some claimed it was for Lucas. Some suggested, open when he turns 5. One mentioned that if he ever inquires about me. Yet, one envelope bore just a single word. Reality. Pamela passed it to him. She penned it on the day she completed the guardianship draft. Nasir grasped it and strolled to the window, the city lights shimmering in the distance below. He carefully opened it. The opening sentence took his breath away. My love for you has never wavered. I have finally ceased my waiting for you. He shut his eyes. I expected you to transform into something you weren't prepared to become. A collaborator. A dad. A man who embraces existence over success. And I felt it deep down, that if I lingered, you would attempt to love me as if it were an obligation. Yet, my desire was to be selected, not merely held. He carefully folded the letter in half, then perched on the edge of the sofa, lost in thought. Pamela remained silent. Lucas was not a mistake. He was an option. Mine. Yet, I wished he would belong to you as well. I envisioned the potential within you, Nasir, and though I may not have recognized it in myself, I wished for you to see it. The letter contained no accusations. Only clarity. And something even more troubling. Elegance. She didn't despise me, he murmured. No, Pamela replied. She extended her forgiveness even before you had the chance to request it. He gazed upward at her. What brings you here, truly? Pamela let out a soft sigh and took a seat opposite him. It's crucial to secure legal custody promptly, as there's a possibility the courts could initiate a hearing. Fortune has favored you up to this point, Nasir. However, fortune eventually fades. His jaw clenched. Are you suggesting that I might lose him? I'm suggesting that another party might attempt to assert ownership over something that isn't legally established at this point. Alina's sister has emerged. Though she was distant, she still held the title of next of kin. He blinked slowly. She had a sibling. Pamela gave a slight nod. Sibling by a different mother. Various paternal figures. Grown up in distinct homes. It seems they haven't communicated in years, yet the law remains indifferent to their emotional separation. Is she seeking custody? She desires to meet him. That's everything she has mentioned up to this point. Nasir rose to his feet, moving back and forth with a measured pace. This was never meant to be difficult. Pamela regarded him with a blend of compassion and assurance. Life remains in a state of potential until it manifests. He swept his fingers through his hair. What should I do? The papers are signed by you. Please proceed with filing the motion. You confirm it with authority. He pivoted to meet her gaze. So, if I go through with that, she won't be able to take him? Pamela spoke with caution, noting that she can still file a claim. However, if you are his legal guardian and already nurturing him, you won't be at a disadvantage. He let out a deep, measured breath. Just go ahead, he instructed. Prepare the documents. She nodded, rising to her feet. I will bring them tomorrow. Pamela hesitated at the threshold. Nasir, this doesn't need to turn into a battle in court. If her sister is interested in getting to know him, you'll need to determine what type of barrier you will present. Either way, it's a choice to be made. He remained silent. Yet, as the night deepened and Lucas drifted into slumber, his tiny hand clasped around Nasir's finger, he found himself seated beside the crib, gazing at the ceiling for what felt like an eternity. He struggled with the concept of vulnerability. Yet he understood the sensation of being excluded. He would never treat his son that way. The doorbell chimed sooner than anticipated the following morning, precisely as the steam from Nasir's unblemished coffee spiraled toward the ceiling. Lucas had finally succumbed to slumber after a prolonged night of unease. His initial fever, mild yet sufficient to leave both Teresa and Nasir feeling uneasy. He lay in slumber, curled on his side like a comma adrift in a vast ocean of blankets, a solitary fist resting against his cheek. Nasir gently eased the door open. Pamela stood there in a soft gray coat, clutching a sleek leather folder. She appeared weary. This morning, I had it sent via courier, she remarked, raising the folder. Yet, an inner voice urged me to deliver it personally. Nasir moved to the side, offering a silent nod. She entered and placed the folder on the kitchen island, surveying her surroundings. Jenna's craftsmanship. He traced her gaze. The apartment appeared transformed already. Gentler. Resided in. A vase filled with wildflowers rested beside the sink, while a baby bottle stood drying on the rack. The facade of control had given way to unmistakable signs of vitality. Indeed, Nasir remarked. She darted swiftly. Alina often remarked that Jenna resembled a lightning storm clad in denim, Pamela whispered. Chaotic, abrupt, yet undeniably captivating. After a moment of silence, Nasir began to speak once more. Share some details about the sister. Pamela cast her gaze upon him. You've mentioned that she emerged. Who is she, really? Pamela mentioned that she is a nurse. Resides in Spokane. My name is Elise. Distinct surname. They were not siblings by blood. I had a short conversation with her. Her voice carried a sense of inner turmoil. In what way are you feeling conflicted? She was unaware that Alina had passed away. Years had passed without a word between them, yet there was no animosity, only a profound sense of separation. Elise mentioned that she discovered it purely by chance, thanks to a mutual friend. Nasir took that in quietly. Pamela pressed on. She wants to meet with Lucas, not to discuss custody or visitation, just a simple meeting. To comprehend. Do you really think that's true? Pamela paused, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. Grief often drives individuals to seek out the unfamiliar. At times, their desires don't align with their perceptions. Nasir averted his gaze, his attention drawn to the scarf resting on the arm of the couch. He's beginning to find his footing. He is beginning to seek me out as I enter the space. That wasn't the case a fortnight ago. You worry this might throw him off balance. I worry I might turn into yet another inquiry that remains unanswered for him. Pamela's demeanor became gentler. Provide him with the responses, in your style, at your convenience. She pushed the folder across the table to him. This ensures your compliance with the law. It grants you permanence. He unsealed it. That name. The name of Lucas. The name of Alina. All intertwined now by the weight of words on a page. Indicate your readiness when you feel prepared, she instructed. Nasir grasped the pen firmly. This time, he acted without hesitation. Once Pamela departed, the stillness in the apartment took on a new quality. Not devoid. Simply. More profound in significance. He affixed his signature. He closed it off. He let out a breath. Soft cries emanated from the nursery, where Lucas was beginning to weep. He was midway down the corridor when Jenna entered through the front door, her cheeks rosy from the chill, arms laden with craft store bags and swatches. A visitor has arrived, she exclaimed, her breath coming in quick bursts. I have already seen Pamela. Nope. Not her. Another individual. She is currently engaged in conversation with the concierge downstairs. He halted in his tracks. Who is it? She introduced herself as Elise. All within him fell silent. Is that you, Nasir? Jenna inquired, her voice softening. I will descend. Would you like me to? Absolutely not. Remain by his side. He dashed forward, his heart pounding fiercely. As he entered the lobby, she was already positioned by the windows, her hands neatly folded, her gaze directed upward at the storm clouds looming over the skyline. Elise stood in stark contrast to Alina. Higher. With sharper angles, her coat served a purpose, her gaze probing. Upon turning to face him, her expression was one of surprise, as if she hadn't expected to see him there. Then something in her expression transformed into determination. Is that you, Nasir? He gave a slight nod. I had my doubts about your arrival. He gave another nod. I had my doubts as well. They remained quiet, lost in their thoughts. Elise finally spoke, her tone steady, I'm not here to complicate things. I had no idea she had left. She remained silent regarding you. She was not obligated to. I found myself distanced from her world. My mother passed away when I was just 16 years old. After that, we floated apart. Various paternal figures. Various urban landscapes. She never mentioned you to me at all. I'm not shocked by that. Her voice wavered slightly. Alina had a deep-seated desire to protect others. Even from the aspects of herself that pained her. Nasir allowed that to linger for a moment. He mentioned that you wished to see him. I honestly have no idea what I want, Elise admitted. I believe I simply required the presence of him in the same space. Indeed, he exists. No, she forgot something important. He is significant, she gazed up at him. Are you? The inquiry struck with more intensity than he had anticipated, yet he responded with deliberate slowness. Initially, I did not. However, I am also in the process of learning. Elise gave a slight nod. Well, that's noteworthy. He observed her hands. She felt a flutter of anxiety. However, not forceful. Unassuming. A woman navigating her way through the echoes of another's farewell. He beckoned me to ascend the stairs. Only for a brief moment. Elisa's eyes fluttered open. Is that so? I wish for you to meet him. This isn't meant for you. For her. The ascent in the elevator was marked by silence. As they entered the apartment, Jenna glanced up from the floor, where she was meticulously painting stars on a canvas mogul. She acknowledged Elise with a warm yet careful nod. Lucas lay awake in a small bassinet by the window, observing the light dance as it filtered through the clouds. Nasir approached and lifted him with care. Elise moved forward with a deliberate grace, as if honoring the moment. Nasir gently adjusted Lucas's position, allowing her a clearer view. He neither invited her to hold him nor did he push her away. Elisa's eyes fluttered in quick succession. He is. She would have truly cherished this. Nasir remarked that he believed she did. Elise felt tears begin to gather in her eyes. She took a step back, swiftly swatting them aside. I don't want to disrupt this, she remarked. I simply had to take a look. That concludes everything. With a swift motion, she delved into her coat and produced a small envelope, presenting it to him. It's just a photograph, she remarked. About our mother. Alina never had the opportunity to present it to him. I considered the possibility that perhaps he ought to understand the origin of the eyes. He nodded, placing the envelope down with deliberate care. Thank you, he murmured gently. Elise cast a final glance at Lucas before she turned away to depart. Convey the message to him. Inform him that she hails from a positive place. Nasir lingered in that spot long after she had departed. Jenna carefully set the photo in a small box on the bookshelf, next to an expanding array of cherished mementos. From the kitchen, Teresa softly murmured, You made the right choice. Nasir gazed at his son. He remained uncertain about his transformation, yet it was beginning to feel like a journey toward a more admirable self. The sharp sound of the intercom shattered the serene stillness of the late morning, akin to a taut string breaking. Nasir had just lulled Lucas into a peaceful slumber. The infant snuggled against the soft embrace of a teddy bear that Jenna had discovered at a charming second-hand boutique. The nursery was infused with a subtle scent of eucalyptus, mingling with a comforting warmth that evoked a sense of security. He slipped silently from the room and activated the intercom. Mr. Cole, a delivery has arrived for you. It is rather substantial. Nasir scowled. In what way is it large? A collection of packages awaits, accompanied by a note from your board. His stomach sank. A moment later, he found himself in the lobby, gazing at 5 large boxes adorned with the name of his company, Cole Systems, alongside a pristine white envelope featuring the embossed logo in the upper corner. Within lay a letter, devoid of a signature yet bearing an official tone. I trust this message finds you in good spirits. We acknowledge that you have been on an extended leave during a pivotal growth quarter. The leadership team kindly requests a statement confirming your role and anticipated return, while fully respecting your personal time. Questions are being posed by investors. The media is also included. We require harmony. Quick. Nasir gazed at the boxes below. One held a fresh prototype. Another was filled with curated gift sets designed for the press and investors. The third contained presentation folders that were custom printed. Picture. Mastery. Forecast. He lingered for a moment that stretched just a bit too long. When he finally returned upstairs, Jenna had already read the note. They want you back, she said, arms crossed. They seek the version of me that lingers in their memories. Teresa lifted her gaze from the task of folding laundry. And who do you consider yourself to be at this moment? Nasir remained silent. Jenna approached, clutching a folder, perusing the charts and strategy graphs with intent. Next month at the Innovation Summit, you are anticipated to take the stage. You continue to embody the essence of the brand. He made a correction. You're still on the homepage, she remarked with a lack of enthusiasm. He massaged the nape of his neck. I'm still contemplating my next steps. Teresa regarded him intently. Is it due to Lucas, or are you worried that you won't remember how to return? He perched on the brink of the couch. During the process of establishing this company, I often viewed family time as a privilege, a reward that came after achieving a certain level of success, something that could be compensated for at a later date. Jenna set the folder down gently. What comes next? Now I feel a deep sense of unease, as if every second I am apart from him is a moment lost forever. Silence enveloped the room. From the nursery, Lucas emitted a gentle coo, subtly emphasizing the sentiment. That evening, as Lucas dozed peacefully in the wrap sling against Nasir's chest, Nasir finally opened his email for the first time in 2 weeks. Countless unread messages flooded the inbox, filled with interview requests, board updates, and articles boasting headlines such as, "Where is tech visionary Nasir Cole?" From CEO to MIA, the enigma of a vanished mogul unfolds. A particular message caught my attention, coming from the head of public relations at the company. Topic: Image exposure, immediate attention required. The email's body was concise. A tabloid managed to obtain a photo of him cradling Lucas in the hospital parking garage. Fuzzy, yet identifiable. The piece was already published. He pressed the link. Hidden offspring. Reports indicate that Alina Reyes welcomed a child with CEO Nasir Cole mere hours before her untimely death. Sources indicate that the infant is currently under his guardianship. His heart pounded heavily. The piece wove together facts and conjecture, emphasizing his lack of visibility and casting doubt on his leadership abilities. Thousands of comments had already poured in. He stood, a shiver of unease slithering up his spine. Teresa entered, a warm towel in hand, but halted in her tracks upon catching sight of his expression. What transpired? They are aware. Who is it? All individuals. He angled the screen in her direction. She absorbed the words quietly. Is that really the case? She inquired, her gaze fixed on the article. The majority of it. Share your perspective with them. I'm not prepared. You'll never be, she said softly. However, Lucas cannot afford to pause for your ease. Later that night, as Lucas peacefully slumbered in his crib and Jenna drifted off on the couch with a sketchpad resting on her chest, Nasir found himself at the kitchen table, his laptop aglow before him. He composed. Subsequently removed. Rewritten once more. Ceased. He gazed at the shadowy window, the skyline shimmering softly in the distance beyond the glass. At last, he initiated a new tab. An empty blog post attributed to him on the company website. He failed to compose a press statement. He failed to craft a pitch. He penned his thoughts with the warmth of a parent. On the night my son entered the world, I found myself paralyzed. I was someone conditioned to react to information, to tactics, to stress. However, not to existence. Not in its most unrefined and exposed state. Uncertainty loomed over me, yet a deep-seated resolve urged me to remain. I am Lucas Reyes's father. He is the child of Alina Reyes, the most courageous woman I have ever encountered. This is not a controversy. This is not a diversion. This is a journey, and I am discovering how to fully embrace it. Not flawlessly, but completely. He clicked publish, shut the laptop, and let out a deep breath. At 3 a.m, his phone vibrated. He grasped it. A note from Moses Hill, an old friend from college. I came across your post. Finally, my friend. Reach out to me tomorrow. I have twins and I'm just as lost as you are. With a gentle smile, Nasir switched off the light and softly made his way into the nursery. Lucas awoke as he stepped inside. Nasir leaned down, softly caressing the baby's cheek with the back of his hand. "I'm here," he murmured, and this time he didn't hesitate. The morning light felt unique, gentle and warm, filtering through the living room windows as if it were meant to be there. Nasir sat on the floor, cradling Lucas in his lap. The baby's small hands reached up, tugging at his collar with an unexpected resolve. "Calm down, little one," Nasir whispered, a genuine smile spreading across his face this time. Lucas made a soft gurgling sound in reply. The blog post exploded in popularity overnight. Jenna recited the comments with a rhythmic cadence as she stirred the oatmeal. The majority of them are quite good. A handful of trolls, yet even they seem perplexed. One guy remarked that he wrote in a very human way. "Never imagined that CEOs could experience pain." Nasir shook his head, a blend of amusement and caution in his expression. "I didn't create it for them." "Yet," she remarked, casting a look back, "you struck something. Individuals are drawn to this because they notice a flaw, and in a realm constructed on shine and flawlessness, flaws reveal authenticity." A soft buzz emanated from the intercom. From the kitchen, Teresa's voice resonated. "Understood." After a brief pause, she re-entered the living room, her hands drying on a dish towel. "Your companion has arrived." Nasir's eyes fluttered momentarily. "Moses? Unless you have other twin fathers visiting." Nasir shifted Lucas on his shoulder and headed toward the door. Moses Hill loomed in the hallway, his stature commanding, broad shoulders accentuated, a touch heavier than when they last crossed paths. He donned a hoodie and jeans, his eyes heavy with the weariness of someone who hadn't enjoyed a full night's sleep in 2 years. They gazed into each other's eyes. And then a grin, inviting and broad. "You appear to be someone whose essence has been refreshed," Moses remarked. "You seem like the kind of person who understands what lies ahead for me." They embraced, a hug that conveyed a deep understanding, a silent acknowledgement that needed no words. Within the confines of the room, Moses knelt beside Lucas, who gazed up at him with a solemnity that only infants can truly convey. "This is him," Moses murmured gently. "This is why your heart shattered." Lucas created a bubble of saliva. "I'm already fond of him." They transitioned to the kitchen, where Jenna offered Moses a steaming mug of coffee while Teresa quietly departed to gather groceries. Nasir perched at the island, softly bouncing Lucas. "How has the journey of fatherhood been for you?" Moses rested against the counter. "It exists in that delicate space between the most profound choice I've ever made and a gradual, heart-wrenching unraveling of all my previous certainties." Nasir chuckled. "That seems accurate." "I perused your words," Moses remarked, his tone changing. "It struck deep, my friend. It was more than just honest. It was essential." Nasir cast his gaze downward. "I felt a wave of fear when I hit the post button. That is the reason it held significance." They lingered in quietude for a moment. Jenna quietly exited the room, feeling an intimate atmosphere enveloping her. Moses inclined his body just a touch. "Have you ever pondered about Alina? Beyond the absence, I mean. Who was she? What did she provide?" Nasir gave a slight nod. "Each hour. She lingers in the echoes, in the way he yawns, in the way he gazes at light as if it were a masterpiece." Moses inclined his head. "Do you still have feelings for her?" The inquiry wasn't an imposition. It was soft, probing. "Indeed," Nasir murmured softly. "However, things have changed now. It's not so much the pain, but rather the appreciation that matters." "That's genuine." Moses took a sip of his coffee, his gaze sweeping across the room. "This location. It has a distinct quality. It seems as though individuals have made this place their home now." Nasir acknowledged that Jenna transformed everything. She infused a sense of warmth. She refrained from inquiring. She entered and transformed the environment entirely. Moses cast him a glance. What's that expression you wear when her name slips from your lips? Nasir's eyes fluttered momentarily. Moses beamed. I have encountered it previously. 2 times. There was a moment when you encountered Alina. One day, my wife entered my studio barefoot, holding a crying toddler, and urged me to let go of my pursuit of perfection. Nasir shook his head in disbelief. It isn't quite that way. Is it not? His voice held no accusation, only a sense of curiosity. Nasir mentioned that she is his cousin. Through lineage or through connection? Through connection. Our mothers shared a deep friendship. We were raised side by side. Moses arched an eyebrow. That's nearly there, but not quite finished. Nasir parted his lips, yet Lucas shifted in his embrace, emitting a gentle grunt. He softly bounced him once more. I'm not seeking anything, Nasir finally stated. And she isn't providing. Perhaps that's the most secure method to create something, Moses responded, without making an effort. They moved to the living room, settling into the warm, sunlit quiet as Lucas slept peacefully in a sling against Nasir's chest. Moses reclined, taking a moment to gather his thoughts. It's wonderful to see you taking this step. You're not merely raising him. You are in the process of transformation. Nasir gazed down at his son. I wasn't aware that I had permission to do so. Moses remarked, you always were. One never imagined the possibility of being both the architect and the dwelling. That evening, once Moses had departed and the apartment settled into silence, Jenna came back cradling a small potted tree in her arms. What is that? Nasir inquired. Olive tree, she remarked, emblem of tranquility, flourishing. It seemed appropriate. He assisted her in positioning it in the corner by the window. Lucas rested in his bassinet close by, the gentle cadence of his breathing serving as a soft metronome in the stillness. Jenna observed Nasir as he retreated. You're unique, she remarked. He offered a faint smile. So are you, she faltered. Have you ever pondered what lies ahead, beyond this very moment? He gazed at her, truly gazed, and an unvoiced warmth flowed silently between them. I make an effort not to, he admitted, but recently, I've begun to feel a glimmer of hope. Jenna remained silent. There was no necessity for her to do so. She softly rested her hand on his shoulder. For the first time, Nasir remained close. The rain began shortly after midnight, gentle initially, then persistent, creating a melody against the windows and making the outside world seem distant. Nasir reclined on the couch, caught in a haze between slumber and the distant rumble of the storm. Lucas lay on his chest, one fist tucked against the hem of his shirt. The gentle heat of his son's tiny form was the sole tether keeping him grounded in that instant. All other things seemed halted. Since the release of the blog post, he had not engaged in any discussions with the board. He had yet to consult his calendar. He had not replied to the media. And yet, in some inexplicable way, the world continued to turn. He shut his eyes for a brief moment. Then Lucas began to move. Not the typical extension or whisper. Something more incisive. A soft whimper. Nasir rose gradually, taking his time. Lucas writhed, his expression contorted in discomfort. Then arose the call. Elevated, piercing, and alien. Nasir's heart raced. He rose swiftly, cradling Lucas against his shoulder, swaying softly. It's all right, he murmured. I have you covered. Yet the cry persisted. It expanded. Jenna burst through the door, her feet bare and her hair a wild mess from slumber. What transpired? I don't know, Nasir said, his voice tinged with a rising sense of urgency. He was doing well and then. She extended her hand, gently brushing Lucas' forehead. Her expression shifted in an instant. He exudes warmth. It's quite warm. Nasir acted without a moment's pause. He enveloped Lucas in a cozy blanket, snatched his keys, and was already halfway to the door before Jenna found her voice once more. "I'm coming with you," she declared, donning her coat with purpose. "Allow me to take the wheel." The journey to the hospital was shrouded in a haze, with the world beyond the car dissolving into a swirl of glistening lights and irrelevant street signs. Lucas wept throughout the whole duration. Nasir found himself engulfed in a profound sense of helplessness, a feeling that seemed foreign yet all too real. He kept stealing glances at the car seat, softly murmuring his son's name as if it could pierce through the haze of the fever. Jenna remained silent. Her knuckles gripped the steering wheel tightly, her jaw set in determination. Yet her gaze continually darted to the mirror, observing, assessing. Upon arriving at St. Elias, a nurse swiftly guided them through the pediatric admissions process. Everything rushed by. Temperature check, vital signs, a minor intravenous line. Nasir grasped Lucas' hand throughout, striving to maintain a calm and steady breath. She faced him, her expression attentive. "It's a minor infection." It wasn't anything perilous, yet the fever escalated quickly. "We will observe him for several hours. He will be fine." Nasir nodded, yet it failed to resonate. He settled next to the tiny hospital crib, bowing his head and resting his forehead against the back of his hand. Jenna positioned herself beside him, near yet unspoken. After a lengthy silence, she finally uttered her words softly. "You remained calm." He chuckled, crisp and arid. "Did you overlook the moment when I struggled to recall how to fasten his car seat?" "You've shifted," she remarked. "You took action. That is what truly holds significance." He confessed that he believed he would shatter. Simply break down in the vehicle. "You did not." He gazed at her, truly gazed, and perceived a depth in her eyes that had previously been absent. It was more than mere admiration. It was an exploration of profound depths. Faith. Once Lucas succumbed to slumber beneath a gentle glow, and a nurse tenderly arranged his blanket, Nasir quietly exited to reach out to Teresa. She picked up on the second ring. "I noticed the alert," she said with a composed demeanor. "How is he doing?" "Consistent. He is under observation." "What about you?" He paused in silence for a moment. "I've never experienced such profound fear before." "You remained," Teresa said softly. "You arrived." He murmured, lost in thought about Alina. "She faced this journey by herself." "No, she didn't," Teresa replied. "She possessed a glimmer of hope. That differs from being alone." He released a long, measured breath. "You were correct about a certain matter. I constructed my world with such intensity that nothing could penetrate its walls. What comes next?" He glanced back at the room, where Jenna cradled Lucas's small hand in hers. At that moment, he spoke in a gentle tone. "I find myself questioning my identity in their absence." As they drove home through the soft embrace of the morning fog, Jenna broke the silence, her gaze fixed ahead, not on him. "You've transformed." He chose not to engage in a dispute. She continued, "I don't mean only in the role of a father. The manner in which you enter a room now is quite striking. The manner in which you present yourself to others." Nasir's grip on the wheel grew firmer. "It's absolutely chilling." "I understand," she replied. "Yet, it possesses a certain beauty." The apartment remained shrouded in darkness upon their return. With careful hands, Nasir transported Lucas to the nursery, placing him softly in the crib. The young lad stirred briefly before surrendering to the gentle embrace of slumber. Jenna lingered in the doorway, observing intently. "You don't need to keep yourself awake," Nasir said. She remained still. "I believe I'll linger here for a while," she remarked. "Just in case." He gave a slight nod. In a moment that felt instinctive, he extended his hand toward hers. She remained close. They lingered in quietude, sharing the stillness between them. The storm had finally moved on, leaving the world outside in its wake. Yet within, an essence had taken hold more profoundly. Something genuine. Something is blossoming. The scent of vanilla mingled with the freshness of clean cotton in the air. Lucas had returned to his crib at last, his cheeks rosy yet no longer aflame. He lay there, one arm stretched out as if he had reclaimed his faith in the world, his chest rising and falling in a cadence that Nasir had unconsciously learned to recognize. The clock approached noon, yet the apartment remained enveloped in silence. Teresa entered quietly, bringing with her a warm bowl of broth and gentle words, before slipping away once more. Jenna lay sprawled on the couch, exhausted from the long night at the hospital, one arm casually covering her eyes, remnants of paint faintly marking her wrist. Nasir lingered in the hallway, his gaze fixed on the nursery door. In the aftermath of turmoil, silence held a profound reverence. Something that didn't cry out for completion. Despite everything, the letter lingered in his mind, refusing to be forgotten. The one that Pamela had brought forth. The one he had yet to unveil. It lingered in the top drawer of his nightstand, remaining undisturbed since the day Elise paid her visit. Alina's script adorns the front. That name. Nothing else to add. He entered his bedroom and gently slid the drawer open. There it stood. A petite envelope. Straightforward. Only honesty. Anticipating. He paused for a moment, then settled onto the edge of the bed and lifted the cover. The document was creased 2 times. He identified her script immediately, with its distinct sharp curves and the little hearts dotting the eyes. It was indeed her. Entirely her. Nasir, if this reaches you, it signifies that a part of you remains. It's important for you to understand that it holds significance. I failed to provide guidance on how to nurture him. A checklist isn't necessary. One must embody a strong presence. Listen closely. Truthfulness. That concludes everything. However, there's a crucial point I must express. A sensation you never allowed yourself to experience. You bear guilt as if it were essential for your survival. However, Lucas is not your consequence. He grants you the opportunity to start anew. Nasir shut his eyes, inhaling deeply. A tension in his chest eased ever so slightly. Love transcends the notion of earning. It's about coming back. Re-entering the space. Revisiting the present. Going back to those who remain patiently, without inquiry. And if you feel fear, that's a positive sign. Your heart is wide open. I had faith in you, Nasir. Not due to your preparedness. Yet, it was your authenticity that made the difference. Only her name lingered, delicately inscribed in the bottom corner, with no sign-off to accompany it. Alina. He folded the letter with great care, pressing his fingers over the crease as if he could draw the ink into his very being. A gentle rap echoed against the bedroom door. Jenna. She entered, remnants of sleep lingering, yet her gaze unwavering. Are you all right? She inquired softly. He gave a slight nod as he rose to his feet. I perused her letter. She approached with deliberate slowness. Would you like to discuss it? I'm at a loss for words, he confessed. I find myself reflecting on the fact that I never had the chance to say farewell. Jenna expressed that she didn't want a farewell. She yearned for an opening. She extended her hand, lightly gliding her fingertips across his wrist. Do you recall what she used to say? Jenna inquired. People aren't just chapters, they're themes that keep coming back. Nasir offered a subtle smile. Did she say that to you as well? She shared it with all those who sought comfort in their solitude. He gazed at Jenna, truly gazed. A flicker emerged, resonant and unvoiced. He spoke softly, a hint of fear in his voice as he admitted his reluctance to hope. I'm afraid not to, she responded. They lingered in quietude for a moment, the gentle murmur of the humidifier in the nursery enveloping the room like an additional presence. Then Nasir let out a breath. He expressed a desire to take action. It's not solely for him. Jenna tilted her head for her. What do you mean? He mentioned that she had always dreamed of creating a space. A creative space, a refuge, a gathering place. She mentioned it on one occasion. A haven for mothers seeking the encouragement they longed for. Jenna's eyes sparkled with excitement. Do you recall that? All the memories have come rushing back, he stated. It wasn't until her absence that I realized the significance of it all. Jenna whispered that she would absolutely adore that idea. How would you refer to it? He took a moment to stop. Then, the glow of Olivia. Jenna's lips opened slightly. That was her second name. I understand, he murmured gently. I noticed it on the birth certificate. Jenna strolled to the window, gazing at the overcast Seattle sky. The city throbbed below, languid and vibrant. When do we begin? She inquired. Nasir positioned himself next to her, his heart now more composed. At this moment. That evening, the nursery radiated a cozy warmth, illuminated by gentle lamplight. Lucas awoke, his eyes slowly blinking open. Nasir bent down beside the crib, softly murmuring his name. The boy's smile was subtle, momentary yet genuine. Jenna stood at the threshold, her arms casually folded across her chest. You know, she said softly, that's the first time I've seen him smile when he hears your voice. Nasir turned, his eyes brimming with emotion. That was the first moment I truly felt a sense of ownership. Jenna moved in, gently tucking a stray curl behind Lucas's forehead. She whispered, I believe he knows. They lingered there, shoulder to shoulder, just shy of contact, yet near enough to feel the warmth of each other's presence. The lavender scarf draped over the chair, gently swaying as the window creaked open, inviting the soft evening breeze inside. The scent of sorrow had faded away. It carried the scent of potential, as if something was on the verge of blossoming. The envelope carried more weight than its appearance suggested. Nasir sat at the dining table, sunlight cascading across the floor in gentle, golden strands. The folder Pamela had left earlier that morning rested before him, sealed, formal, and definitive. The custody documents have been revised, updated, and are now ready. He had completed the temporary paperwork weeks prior. However, this marked the pivotal moment. The legal, irrevocable action that designated him not merely as an emergency contact or guardian, but as a father. Dad. Neither a role nor a title, but a fundamental truth. Lucas gurgled gently in his high chair, meticulously spreading oatmeal across his tray with unwavering focus. Jenna lingered close, mixing fruit into a bottle, her off-key humming filling the air. Nasir still hadn't shared the news with her. He found himself in a state of uncertainty. Perhaps it was because once he committed, there would be no room left to conceal himself behind inquiries. Or duration. Or sorrow. You seem a bit quiet this morning, Jenna remarked, casting a sideways glance. He raised his gaze. Lost in thought. That's a risky habit, she playfully remarked. He smiled, yet the warmth never touched his eyes. She approached, drying her hands on a towel, and then took a seat opposite him. Engage with me. Nasir gave the folder a light tap. This is the last bit of documentation. Her expression immediately became gentler. Ah. He mentioned that he believed he would feel prepared. Yet her voice lingers in my mind. Not directing my actions, merely observing. Jenna inclined her body, eager and attentive. What do you suppose her response would be at this moment? He gulped. She might suggest that my choice has already been made. The signature is merely ink. She would be correct. Lucas emitted a victorious squeal as a piece of banana tumbled to the floor. Jenna chuckled, and he's obviously not troubled by it at all. Nasir gazed at the folder for a moment longer. He gradually eased it open. The pages whispered gently, eager for the ink to dance upon their surface. Unclaimed spaces beckoned for attention. He extended his hand toward the pen. His hand lingered in the air. Jenna rose and moved behind him, her hand resting softly on his shoulder. "You're not transforming into something different," she murmured softly. "You are embracing your true self." That moment unleashed a profound shift within him. He affixed his signature. Just a single stroke. Next, another one. A complete name. Nasir Elijah Cole. Parent of Lucas Reyes. He let out a long breath and placed the pen beside the page as if he were finally releasing a burden he had borne for far too long. Jenna pressed her hand gently on his shoulder for a moment before withdrawing. Lucas had ceased his incessant chatter. He observed them now, his large eyes wide and serene, as though he sensed a change had occurred. Nasir approached and lifted him from the high chair, raising him up before bringing him in close. Lucas chuckled softly, nestled his head into his shoulder, and let out a gentle sigh. "I've got you," Nasir murmured, "and I always shall." That afternoon, Pamela came to gather the documents. She remained mostly silent, offering a subtle nod of approval, her gaze gentler than it typically was. "He's yours," she remarked, securing the folder beneath her arm. "Formally. Completely." "It had that sense already," Nasir replied. "I understand," she replied, "but now everyone is aware of it as well." Before departing, she lingered at the threshold. "Alina would take great pride in your accomplishments." He failed to express his gratitude. He merely nodded, aware that voicing it would shatter something within him that he wasn't prepared to release just yet. Once she departed, Nasir positioned himself by the nursery window, with Lucas peacefully slumbering on his chest. The lavender scarf now rested gracefully over the rocking chair, a delicate connection between what once was and what is. The phone vibrated softly, signaling a message from Moses. "I have received the information. You've stepped into it now, my friend. Welcome to the gathering of those who find themselves moved by heartfelt advertisements and feel a wave of emotion at the sight of tiny footwear." Nasir let out a soft, amused laugh. Later, Jenna discovered him in the nursery, where the gentle glow of dusk cast warm golden stripes throughout the space. "I have something for you," she said. He raised his gaze. She presented him with a petite wooden box. Within lay a photograph. Alina chuckled, a splash of paint adorning her cheek, as she embraced the much younger Jenna. A pristine canvas stretches behind them, illuminated by a sky brimming with light. "Where did you come across this?" he inquired, his voice trembling. "Jenna mentioned that she left it with me. Instructed me to hold on to it until you ceased your endless pursuit." He gently caressed Alina's face with his thumb. "She cherished you," Jenna murmured gently, "even in those moments when you struggled to embrace your own worth." Nasir softly shut the box. "I'm making an effort," he murmured. Jenna inclined her head, moving in closer. "You're achieving beyond mere attempts." Their gazes intertwined. The atmosphere surrounding them transformed, neither burdensome nor pressing, simply authentic, immediate. Neither of them stirred, and in that stillness, there was a certain completeness. The sky outside grew darker. The city shimmered softly below them. Within a man, a son was cradled, ink resting on paper and honesty beating in his heart. It was not the conclusion. It marked the start, with his name at last inscribed in the place it had always belonged. Lucas grasped the paintbrush as if it were a spoon, spreading pale blue across the paper with a level of confidence that only a one-year-old could muster. His fingers were already smeared with vibrant green and yellow, his shirt adorned with streaks resembling a living canvas. Nasir knelt beside him on the mat, chuckling as he attempted to rein in the whirlwind of imagination. "You'll be more expressive than your mother," he whispered, gently cleaning a streak of orange from Lucas's cheek with a damp cloth. The cozy room hummed with a comforting warmth. Sunlight poured through the lofty windows of the freshly updated area, revealing exposed brick, gentle wooden floors, and murals ascending on every wall. The air was filled with the scent of fresh paint, a reminder of new beginnings. The doors to Olivia's light were yet to officially swing open, but today signified the inaugural moment they welcomed guests within. Merely a gentle assembly. Jenna referred to it as a day for taking a breath. Without grand speeches or bustling tours, life unfolds gently, just as it ought to. Jenna perched on a stepladder in the corner, meticulously applying gold to the rim of a sunrise she had crafted above the window. Her brush glided with soft, deliberate strokes, calm and unhurried. She wandered without shoes, softly humming a gentle melody to herself. Nasir observed her intently for a prolonged moment. He was unaware of the smile gracing his lips. With a knowing grin and 2 coffees in hand, Teresa appeared beside him, ready to start anew. He made no attempt to refute it. She offered him a cup. "It's nice to witness this aspect of you once more," Nasir inclined his head. "Which side is that?" "The faction that holds faith in a particular idea or individual." He savored a sip. "It seems I held back my hopes for an extended period." Teresa knelt next to Lucas, who presented her with a soggy paper heart. "Hope acts without seeking approval. It continues to persistently knock." Several additional volunteers had shown up, mothers with their little ones in tow, 2 teenagers participating in a youth mentorship initiative, and an older gentleman bringing along a box filled with donated books. The core seemed to expand inward, creating room for something grander than any of them could comprehend. Nasir cast his eyes to the rear, where a substantial plaque was being affixed to the brick wall above the cozy reading nook. "In remembrance of Alina Reyes. For every caregiver who cherished quietly and held on to hope regardless." He approached with deliberate slowness, his fingers gliding over the engraved letters. His chest tightened, filled not with sorrow, but with a profound sense of appreciation. "I believe she would have chosen to stay," Jenna remarked from behind him. He pivoted. She remained in place, her bare feet touching the ground, fingers stained with shimmering gold paint. "If she had witnessed this, if she had seen you in this moment, I believe she would have chosen to remain." He gazed at her, emotions overflowing, words escaping him. She quickly clarified, "I didn't intend for that to come across as a burden. It's not remorse. It is simply a matter of truth." "In my mind, she had always represented what was to come," he remarked. "And now she's the catalyst that urged me to embrace the here and now." Jenna's gaze became gentle. "You've gone above and beyond." He extended his hand, softly sweeping away a trace of gold from her cheek. "Your contributions were essential to this creation." She gave a slight shrug, a smile playing on her lips. "Everyone participated." Nasir pondered thoughtfully, "When the center opens, I aspire to do more than merely run programs. I aim to provide a nurturing environment, a residency for single parents, art therapy sessions, co-parenting workshops, and genuine support." Jenna's eyes widened in astonishment. "You mean it?" "I maintain a serious demeanor at all times. However, I find myself deeply engaged now." She chuckled softly, then cast her gaze downward. "What implications does that hold for you? Is this what life is meant to be?" Nasir moved in, the atmosphere charged with an unasked question that had hung in the air for weeks. "I desire this life," he stated plainly. "Are you with me?" His voice carried a soft, hushed quality. "If you allow it to accompany you." Jenna gazed at him, a whirlwind of emotions dancing behind her eyes. Unexpected, optimistic, a blend of fear and beauty. Her response was silent. She moved closer and softly pressed her forehead against his. For an extended, serene moment, they remained still, sharing breaths in a space constructed from sorrow and affection and all that lies within. Lucas emitted a joyful squeal behind them, thrusting his painted paper upward like a prized trophy. Jenna chuckled gently, retreating slightly. "That deserves to be framed. It is his inaugural work of art." Nasir beamed with delight. "I believe it already is." As the evening unfolded and the sun sank beneath the horizon, casting a warm glow, Nasir lingered by the front window, watching the final volunteers depart with their farewells. Lucas held close, observing as the light transformed into a warm amber hue. "Do you believe she notices this?" he murmured. Jenna approached and intertwined her arm with his. "It seems to me that she was aware this outcome was inevitable. That is the reason she selected you." He pressed a soft kiss to Lucas's forehead. "I aspire to continue validating her belief in me." Behind them, the walls of Olivia's light shimmered with a gentle hue. It lacked the essence of a memorial. It resonated with a sense of belonging. The piece was released shortly after midday. Nasir had just concluded a meeting with a donor at Olivia's light when Jenna stormed into the office, phone in hand, her expression a complete enigma. "You're in the spotlight," she remarked, extending it towards me. He picked up the phone and gazed at the headline, "The CEO who walked away from billions to bottles." A straightforward photograph lies beneath it. Nasir knelt on the mural floor, chuckling, as Lucas spread finger paint over his sleeve. He continued to scroll. The work was intimate, perhaps overly so. An observer had approached the center incognito, observed, jotted down notes, posed gentle inquiries, and subsequently crafted a narrative from those insights. The tone was not harsh. It was, if anything, filled with admiration. Yet it portrayed his absence from the tech realm as a critique of achievement, suggesting that love was a revolutionary gesture and fatherhood a form of dissent. He spoke softly, tension building in his jaw as he referenced Alina's letter. Jenna acknowledged with a nod. "I understand," the phrase regarding the opportunity to start anew. It was transformed into a captivating headline pull quote. He placed the phone on the surface. "She didn't create that for the world." "Yet, it was something the world had to listen to," Jenna remarked softly. Perhaps, just perhaps, Lucas required the reassurance that someone is paying attention. A lengthy pause lingered in the air between them. Nasir reclined in the chair, allowing his eyes to flutter shut for a moment. "I never intended for this place to turn into a symbol. I envisioned it as a refuge, a fresh start, rather than just a story of salvation." "Yet, you have become a symbol," Jenna remarked. "You embody the outcome of persistence, the result of choosing to remain steadfast." He gazed at her, a gentle and tentative feeling blossoming within him. "Does it transform us?" Jenna advanced, her voice dropping to a whisper. "It's entirely up to us." That night, the city hummed with an intensity that felt almost electric. News vehicles stationed close to the hub. A small group of photographers lingered by the entrance. Olivia's gentle glow, merely weeks into her existence, had transformed into a captivating force. Nasir traversed the corridors, inspecting each window, every light, and every latch with meticulous care. In the nursery room adorned with stars and gentle lullaby lyrics, Lucas drifted into a peaceful slumber. Yet Nasir was unable to. In the serene corner of the reading nook, he settled in, hands neatly folded, gaze drifting over the mural adorning the back wall. A solitary tree, its roots anchored deep, while its leaves stretched towards the sky. A silhouette of a child stood beneath it, clutching a lantern. It had escaped his attention until this moment just how much the child resembled Lucas. Jenna moved quietly, her presence barely a whisper as she drew near him. "You're losing control," she remarked. "I prefer this not to center around my experiences." "Just ensure that it doesn't," she responded. "Continue pursuing your purpose with determination." He glanced in her direction. "What happens if the noise drives people away? What if it undermines the intent?" Jenna remained utterly still, her gaze unwavering. "We consistently reiterate the purpose, time and again, if necessary." He examined her expression. "What gives you such unwavering confidence?" "I'm not," she confessed, kneeling beside him. "Yet, I've witnessed countless individuals with ambition diminish when the attention turns to them." "You're not diminishing." He dragged his hand across his face, inhaling deeply. "I have no desire to return to my former self." "You're not," she murmured. "It would be impossible, no matter how hard you attempted." He cast his gaze downward. At times, I find myself hoping she could witness this. She is capable. Nasir nodded slowly, the turmoil within him starting to calm. The following morning, a letter appeared, lacking a sender, its script handwritten, simply stating, "For Nasir, for Lucas." Within, 2 neatly folded pages await. A note of gratitude, a revelation, a mother, recently independent, who discovered the strength to escape a perilous situation after being inspired by his narrative. She had stepped into Olivia's warmth the day prior, sitting in silence, observing Lucas laugh during the music circle, and something within her shattered and was remade. Nasir perused it twice, then set it down delicately next to the plaque in the hallway. By noon, the throng outside the center began to dwindle. A new type of visitor was arriving, not journalists, but individuals, guardians, hushed tones, and astonished gazes. One by one, they entered the room. Nasir positioned himself by the front window, cradling Lucas in one arm. Jenna glided into view, her fingers lightly tracing the contours of Lucas's back. "They aren't present for the narrative," she remarked. "They seek the reality that lies beneath." "What is the reality?" She gazed at him, her voice rich and unwavering. "That presence transforms everything." Lucas cooed, gesturing toward the front door where a woman had just entered, cradling a toddler on her hip, her eyes brimming with tears. Nasir softly murmured against his son's forehead. "Let's continue to be present, my young friend." And they certainly did. The first anniversary arrived softly, shrouded in a morning fog that floated through the city like a gentle murmur. Nasir leaned against the window in the nursery, Lucas nestled on his hip, a small, chubby hand gripping his shirt collar. The apartment was quiet, a quiet that stemmed not from emptiness, but from a deep sense of respect. A year ago, everything shifted, a call, a name, a son. He pressed a gentle kiss to the crown of Lucas's head, then pivoted as Jenna entered the room, cradling a neatly folded blanket and a paper bag secured with twine. "It is time," she murmured gently. Nasir nodded, his resolve firm and unwavering. They left the city just after dawn, making their way north to a park that Alina had once cherished. She painted a picture for him during their first winter together, a hidden garden nestled behind a quaint art museum, where wild lavender flourished and a solitary ginkgo tree scattered golden leaves like confetti each autumn. She desired to be remembered in that vibrant space, not in a graveyard, not in quietude, but in a place that pulsed with life. Jenna moved forward, holding the small tin containing Alina's ashes, her fingers enveloping it with a tenderness that seemed almost reverent. Nasir moved ahead, cradling Lucas in his arms, his heartbeat growing heavier with each silent step he took. The park lay silent, with only the sound of leaves crunching beneath my feet and the gentle rustle of the early wind weaving through the branches. They paused at the foot of the ginkgo tree, its grand trunk adorned with ribbons left by previous visitors, prayer cards, handwritten messages, and fragments of fabric. It transformed into a vibrant shrine, deeply anchored in recollection. Nasir gently placed Lucas into the stroller and then knelt down next to Jenna. Jenna mentioned that she would have despised anything formal, so I decided against preparing a speech. "Good," Nasir said, his voice strained, "because I wouldn't have managed it." Together, they pried open the tin. The ashes glimmered softly in the dawn's embrace, not quite gray, but reminiscent of silver. Jenna delved into the paper bag, retrieving a fragrant bundle of dried lavender alongside a handful of vibrant wildflower seeds. She expressed a desire to nourish the earth, Jenna murmured, and to bring forth color. With a deep breath, Nasir rose to his feet. He delicately spread a handful of ashes at the foot of the tree. Jenna followed suit. They pressed the seeds into the earth, nurturing them with melted snow gathered from the mountaintop where Alina had once ventured alone. Lucas emitted a gentle coo from behind them. Nasir glanced over at him. He knelt down and said, "She'd want you to know about this place. This is the place where love resides." A strip of the lavender scarf was tied to one of the tree's lower branches, now frayed from a year of holding and folding. It danced softly in the breeze, as if unburdened by gravity. Jenna moved next to Nasir and intertwined her fingers with his. He averted his gaze from her, yet he maintained his grip. Later, at the center, Teresa had arranged a quaint lunch in the garden behind the building. Only family. Moses and his wife came with their twins, who instantly pulled Lucas into a delightful game of tossing leaves into the air, their laughter ringing out as if they had discovered a spell of joy. It somewhat was. Jenna approached, cradling a delicately wrapped box in her hands. She mentioned discovering something in Alina's storage unit. She had named it later. I thought this was the nearest we would come. Nasir unwrapped it with great caution. Within it lay a sketchbook. Each page brimmed with content. Charcoal illustrations depicting Lucas envisioned at various stages of life. Alina had always imagined his growth, though she had never witnessed it firsthand. Him as a young child with bouncy curls. He dashed barefoot through the crashing waves. Him resting peacefully on a warm chest. Forever Nasir's. The final page stood apart. It was not merely a drawing. There was a list, named lessons I wish he gains from you. He perused each one with deliberate care. To remain calm amidst chaos. To express oneself solely in moments of significance. To embrace others without the urge to change them. To seek assistance before the situation escalates beyond control. To embrace love free from the anxiety of being undone. He softly shut the book, cradling it against his heart. Jenna remained silent. She positioned herself just within reach, allowing him the option to lean in if he desired. That evening, once the last guest had departed and the lights were softly lowered at Olivia's place, Nasir settled onto the reading nook bench, with Lucas nestled comfortably against him. He reopened the sketchbook, allowing his son's fingers to glide over the lines. Lucas gestured towards a particular image. A young boy, grasping a paper lantern beneath the branches of a tree. Nasir beamed with delight. That's you, he murmured, and that tree is indeed real. Lucas murmured a response. It required no translation. Jenna meticulously gathered the final remnants of confetti from the floor, her movements deliberate and graceful. She lifted her eyes, met Nasir's gaze, and gave a single nod. A place had been bestowed upon her. Yet beyond that, they had bestowed upon her a future. And now she was returning the favor to them. Nasir pressed his lips gently to Lucas's forehead, drawing him in tighter, and let his eyes flutter shut. Not to overlook, but to enhance our recollection. The winter sun streamed in, low and golden, casting elongated shadows over the gleaming wood floors of Olivia's space. The heart of the place thrummed with a soothing melody of existence, light-hearted giggles, the whisper of fabric, and the distant sound of a baby's coo echoing from the back hallway. The atmosphere was serene, yet alive with subtle movement. Tranquil, yet always full of life. Nasir stood in the center of the community room, a folder secured under one arm, while Lucas clutched his other hand with the steadfast determination of a toddler intent on walking unaided. His steps remained unsteady, his balance uncertain, yet each misstep was accompanied by a joyful laugh of victory. You're quite the show-off, Nasir said with a smile, looking down at him. We understand. Your body possesses legs. Lucas chuckled and pulled with more enthusiasm. Across the room, Teresa meticulously arranged chairs in a semicircle, setting the stage for the year's final reflection circle. The walls surrounding them were adorned with a year's collection of handprints, painted quotes, and framed drawings, each a testament to a space that had transformed from sorrow into sanctuary. Jenna stepped through the garden doors, her cheeks flushed from the chill, her hair snugly hidden beneath a wool beanie. She cradled a small box in one hand, a delicate item swathed in linen nestled within. As her gaze locked with Nasir's, a subtle smile exchanged between them silenced every other noise in the room. He still recalled the evening they found themselves in this very place, encircled by boxes and the scent of fresh paint, uncertain of what they were creating, only that it needed to hold significance. At this moment, it certainly did. It's a big day, Jenna remarked, placing the box gently on the table next to him. Are you prepared? he inquired. I believe that's the case, she replied, then hesitated. Are you? He gazed down at Lucas, who had now descended to the floor, crawling after a rubber giraffe with unwavering determination. Indeed, he murmured gently. I exist. One by one, they started to arrive, Moses with his children, the young mother who had once slipped a letter beneath the door, the retired teacher now leading the Wednesday story circle, and a teenage boy who expressed himself through vibrant murals, speaking only in hues. They all arrived, bearing an invisible yet collective essence, a testament to a year's commitment to presence. As the last chair scraped against the floor, Nasir took a step into the spotlight. He chose not to position himself behind a podium. He merely remained in place. His voice was composed and unwavering, yet his eyes revealed a profound depth, a history etched within. 1 year ago today, he began, I received a phone call that transformed my entire life. Silence enveloped the room. I was uncertain about the path of fatherhood. I was uncertain of my worthiness, yet I arrived, trembling, paralyzed, unprepared. This place, this child, this community, offered me an unexpected gift, the chance to start anew. He halted, surveying his surroundings. At Olivia's Light, we choose not to display a mission statement on the wall. We possess individuals. We possess narratives. There are mornings when the coffee lacks strength, someone arrives late to child care, and another person forgets the proper way to fold the stroller. Yet, there is a single commitment we hold dear. Collaboration is key. A wave of agreement swept through the room. He cast a fleeting look in Jenna's direction. She gave a slight nod. Before we conclude, he remarked, I wish to share something with you, something that Alina has left behind. Jenna moved closer, peeling back the linen to unveil a delicate sculpture, its smooth clay adorned with meticulous strokes of paint. 2 hands, one large and one small, extended towards one another, yet they remained just out of reach. Nasir mentioned that she created this during her second trimester. I informed Jenna that it was incomplete as it lacked a conclusion. Perhaps that was the intention all along. He set the sculpture upon the table. Love transcends the notion of being whole, he remarked. It's about coming back, making the choice to extend a hand, even if our paths don't fully cross, even if the instant seems fleeting or the hours stretch endlessly. It's about being present regardless of the circumstances. The ensuing silence was not oppressive. It was brimming. Later that afternoon, once the chairs were neatly stacked and the candles extinguished, Nasir found himself in the garden behind the center. Lucas ambled close, wrapped snugly in his fluffy coat, one mitten trailing behind him like a triumphant banner. Jenna approached him, encircling herself with her arms. He has developed significantly, she remarked. He expands with each fleeting moment of my gaze. She cast her gaze upon him. You've transformed as well. Continuing to refine it. That is what sets you apart now. In the past, your efforts were aimed at validation, now, they are focused on development. Nasir delved into his coat pocket and retrieved a neatly folded piece of paper. What is that? The Board of Coal Systems inquired whether I would contemplate a return. Jenna's expression froze. He passed it to her. I declined their request. Her eyebrows shot up. Is there no doubt? None. She beamed with joy. What is the reason? Since I already have a position, he remarked, gesturing towards the center. And an existence. And a son who recognizes my face as he greets the morning. What about me? She inquired, her tone nearly teasing, yet not quite. He faced her completely. He remarked, you aren't just a job. You are the reason I maintained the illumination. Her eyes sparkled with a captivating light. He confessed that he was uncertain about his ability to love once more. I was uncertain about whether I should proceed. Yet the gaze you cast upon him, the way your eyes met mine when I was unable to face my own reflection. You provided me with a spark of optimism. Jenna moved in closer. I didn't do it for recognition. Indeed, he acknowledged. You accomplished it because you recognized my potential, even when I was unaware of it myself. Lucas ambled over to them, clutching a paper star from the art table, glistening with sticky glitter. He raised it with a sense of pride. Nasir knelt and accepted it. Did you create this? Lucas beamed and gestured towards the heavens. Nasir raised his gaze. The clouds had shifted just enough, allowing the first glimmers of stars to emerge and punctuate the twilight. He stood, cradling Lucas in one arm, while the other held a shimmering star. Jenna embraced them both warmly. I want to create something fresh, Nasir murmured softly. A life? Is it a family? She remained silent. She gently rested her head on his shoulder. In that tranquil instant, beneath the expansive sky, with a child cradled securely in his embrace, and a future that was embraced rather than dreaded, Nasir Cole understood. He still had something left. He was granted a fresh start, not flawless, but genuine. In the gentle quiet of a waning year, beneath the first genuine stars of winter, he murmured to his son, "Now I exist because of you." If this video resonated with you, drop a comment with a 1 to share your thoughts. If that's the case, please provide a comment too. Your opinions are important to me, no matter what.